Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. This is Sid from ElliottWavePlus.com, and this is the January 17 of 2020 edition of my quarterly premium plan webinar, where I go over a number of aspects of our premium plan. Before we get started, I'd like for you to be aware of our disclaimer. It's at my website, ElliottWavePlus.com. You go there and you scroll all the way to the bottom and click on the Terms of Service Disclaimer tab. And there's the disclaimer. It's there all the time. So please go there and read that. If I were to summarize this in the simplest possible sentence, it would be there's risk of loss in all trading. So the premium plan, let's get back to my list of things we're going to talk about today. The premium plan is our top tier plan, and we actually have 4 levels of service. The crypto signals service, where we send out nightly trade signals that are based on my proprietary automated algorithmic momentum system. And then the basic plan is the next step up, and there twice a week I send out screenshots of most of the popular tradable items out there, and more than that. It's a pretty exhaustive list of items that I cover in the basic plan. For instance, the number of screenshots in the weekend edition usually totals over 100 screenshots. And those, many of them are several different time frame looks, like weekly, daily, 240-minute on the same item, and then others are just a general look at an item that's important to track in the markets. And then the midweek edition of the basic plan, usually around 40 screenshots on that one. And then the pro plan includes everything that's in the basic plan and the crypto signals plan, but also includes an invitation to my weekly counts webinar, where I go over all of my Elliott wave counts and associated Fibonacci price targets for many of the world's major stock markets, commodities, currencies, and bonds. Hurst cycle analysis is also considered and integrated into the Elliott wave counts and associated Fibonacci price targets there. So an important thing to know about the way my plans work is if you are in the pro plan, you get everything below that, the basic plan and the crypto signals. If you're on the basic plan, you get just that and the crypto signals. But on the premium plan, which is our top tier service, you get everything I just mentioned in the pro plan, basic plan, and crypto signals, and you also get automated algorithmic trade signals based on my proprietary momentum algo on about 20 of the most popular and most tradable items here in the US. That would include a number of futures contracts as well as a number of ETFs. So that's the different levels of service. As a premium plan member, you get everything under that as well. I'll also talk about in this webinar how to navigate inside our website to make sure you're getting all of the information that you're receiving, that you can find it depending on what level of service you are subscribed to. I also want to make sure you're aware of our educational materials under the resources tab, as well as our blog. We put a lot of ideas into the blog regularly, and then I want to dig down into the specifics of the premium plan, especially the algo signals, how to set your initial stop, and at some point whether or not the nightly report might suggest that you start trailing that stop, have a very specific methodology on trailing the stop, as well as when to exit the trade. And then another aspect of the premium plan service is our spreadsheet that we produce every time we do one of these quarterly webinars that shows the last statistics on all 20 items that we send out signals on. And all kinds of sortable statistics. So that comes to you in the form of an actual Excel file that you can put on your PC, and you can sort them right now. This is all the items, tradable items. There's more than 20 there actually. And if you want to sort by the net profit brought in based on the algo signals, had these settings been the way they currently are right now over that entire span of 3 years. So the total number of profit dollars brought in, or you can sort, for instance, by the return on investment. So some of these items require larger accounts than others, and so this is actually the percentage gain over 3 years. And I'll go over this spreadsheet in more depth, but this is something we send out to premium plan members. We've been sending it out to everyone on our mailing list so they can kind of see what the premium plan people do. Of course, we don't send out the nightly report or the nightly trade signals unless you're an active subscriber, but we want everyone to know how well this algorithm has been working on all the items. And we've had this service for over a year now, and so I think the subscribers can attest that these signals have been coming in regularly over the last year, and so these are not necessarily theoretical trades. They're actual real-time signals that come out in the market and that we send out, and we can measure the results of how the algo does on it. We do re-optimize on the algo quarterly, although we used to do it monthly, and we found that there just wasn't enough changes going on. Always looking changing the back test period to the last 3 years. So the last 3 rolling years is what we optimize the momentum algos to. And we generally optimize to most profit dollars bought in, unless there's a particularly poor winning percentage, and then we optimize it looking a little bit more practically at a system that people could stick with, that doesn't have too many consecutive losses and that sort of thing. So we'll start going over those things one at a time here now, and we'll start with the overview of the levels of service. And for that, I'll just go to my website and show you that by the way, I'm logged in at the website, and I'm logged in as a paying subscriber. And so when you are logged in at the website, you'll know you're logged in because you'll see the word account up here. So that indicates that you are actually logged in. And then you'll see all of the tabs that have information available under them that you may or may not be paying for. Now, everything under the resources tab is free, including all the videos, the guides, and the blogs and the blog posts and the tweets. And then when it gets into the nightly reports tab, the webinars tab, the screenshots tab, those are materials that are available to paying subscribers. If you're in the basic plan, you get to see in the screenshots tab, you get to see the twice per week screenshots. Before we get into that, I'll start with the levels of service and show you so on the crypto plan, so subscribers to the crypto plan, the only ones of these tabs that will actually work when you're logged in is the nightly crypto trade signal. So when you, like for instance, this is the January 16 of 2020 edition of the crypto trade signals, and it shows all of the screenshots that the crypto signals people, our subscribers, receive nightly. And you can see we have Bitcoin also included, is and that includes signals that you get on Bitcoin, trade signals. The big green boxes are winning trades, the red background boxes are losing trades. As you can tell on the momentum algo, it is designed to catch those big moves and stick with the trade through most of that move, and because the winners are so much larger than the average losers, which are held at bay by protective stops, and the size of the protective stop is determined by backtesting. The winners are so much bigger than the losers that it ends up making money. And that's basically true across the board when we look at the spreadsheet later. Also included for the crypto plan people is my Bitcoin Elliott wave count, which is integrated into a Hurst cycles roadmap. I combine those two when I develop these roadmaps. And I must say my work on Bitcoin over the last couple of years has been quite excellent as far as the Elliott wave and Hurst roadmap of where it's going. It's determined really pretty accurately the most recent major top and major low back in late 2018, as well as the major high in mid 2019, and predicted that we would be in for a corrective period after that. All of that has come to pass, and it's caught this last move to the upside beautifully as well. So many times subscribers can look at my Elliott wave and Fibonacci price targets and everything and decide, maybe I like this buy signal here well enough to stick with this trade and use a little larger stop with it, for instance. Or there might be times where it's the momentum algo is saying, yeah, go ahead and get long, but my analysis is saying, no, I'm expecting a top about now, and so you can decide which way you want to go, whether it's with the algo signal, which will, I will admit, if an item is trending, it will keep suggesting buying a trend if it's trending the upside, until it finally gets stopped out, and it doesn't care how far it goes or how stretched it becomes. Whereas my work with Elliott wave and Hurst is designed to see that there are turns coming, 80-day cycle troughs, 80-day cycle peaks, and that sort of thing. So there might be a turn coming or imminent, and so that might affect whether you continue to chase a trend or not. So you can use my Elliott wave work in association with these integrated signals, or these momentum signals that really have nothing whatsoever to do with the Elliott wave or anything else other than really momentum. So that's the crypto plan. And then once you step up from that, you get the basic plan. And the basic plan is screenshots of hundreds of items that I provide twice a week. About over 100 screenshots on the weekend edition and over 40 screenshots on the Wednesday edition. So when you look at the screenshots, you can see there's all the most recent editions, and I go ahead and leave my history up, the fairly extended history going back at least several months, so you can look back and see how my work has fared. I think that's only fair and I don't think very many subscription services do that. They'll take down anything that's over 3 editions old or something, and I show all of my work so you can see if it's been effective on certain items and maybe not on others. You maybe can decide which items seem to be working best with the Elliott wave model and Hurst model over the last few months before deciding what to trade. Notice this is the weekend edition. All of the screenshots that were done in the this is the January 15 weekend edition of EWP screenshots. You can see there's a lot there, and they're all alphabetized. And so you can get in and look at a chart. And if you want to enlarge that chart, you can hit that square button up there. You can hit the control key and start rolling your mouse and maybe get even more zoomed in. And then you can take it back out of zoom mode. You can also download, currently I'm allowing the downloads of individual charts, but not the entire edition as a full set. I used to do that, and it made it just too easy to steal that analysis and spread it around. So, but I still allow, at least right now, individual downloads of individual screenshots on under the screenshots tab. And so that's all part of the basic edition, or the basic plan screenshot. It's the basic plan. And then the pro plan has everything that I've described previous, plus the webinars. So for webinars, we can go back here, and here's the January 12 of 2020 weekly counts webinar. And I have the regular Zoom recording there, downloadable. And I have, after the fact, we use Wistia to make some categories on an on-screen list. So if you start playing this webinar,
good morning.
You can go full screen.
Good afternoon. Good evening, wherever you may be. This is Sid from Elliott Wave Plus.
Of
I was looking at
items that I covered, and we click on ones and boom, it jumps right way ahead. It jumped 2 hours ahead to my specific.
So my main idea on
silver,
gold for the big bugaboo on gold and silver,
straight to currencies, and it just makes it very quick and easy to jump
streaming
directly to specific items. I do recommend, if you are going to watch the recording of the webinar, you watch it all, because all items are correlated or somewhat correlated, and there's a lot of commentary during the webinar that kind of is important no matter what you're trading. But it does allow, upon review, allow you to go back and look at very specific items very quickly, without having to search around on a long video timeline trying to figure out where my coverage was of a particular item. So that's the weekly counts webinar, and that is included in the pro plan. And finally, in the premium plan subscribers get all of those things, plus they get nightly algo reports. And the nightly algo reports covers about 20 tradable items. About half of them are futures contracts, and the other half are ETFs, the very most popular items. And not only do they get the screenshots showing when the trade signals come in, but they also get an additional screenshot showing what the current sentiment positioning is on that item, whether it's commercials or retail traders. And so actually for that, we would go to nightly reports, premium plan, nightly algo reports. And here's the most recent nightly algo report, January 16. And you can see that there's a pardon me a second. There is a PDF of an Excel report that we put together every night for premium plan members. If there is an action item, it will be color coded. So let's go down here, scroll down through here, and look for any cell that is color coded. And here's one on silver. It had been on a sell signal from January 9th, and there was an exit the trade signal that came in that particular evening, and so that one is coded as yellow. That means that's an action item on an existing trade, and that this particular signal was to exit the trade. U.S. dollar index, we got a new sell signal on the dollar index on the 16th. And that one is color coded in red. There were no new buy signals that day. You'll also get, pardon me a second. You'll also get a, if it's yellow coded, that not only tells you when to exit, it might suggest starting to trail the stop. So let's start getting into some of the specifics of the premium plan nightly reports, which basically include a number of another number of screenshots. One other thing I'll mention about the spreadsheet, it gives you a quick rundown of what the Hurst cycles analysis expects and what my main Elliott wave count is at the time as well, and it gives you a real quick look at sentiment over here. For instance, on this particular day, the 16th of January 2020, the DSI, that is the percentage of retail traders that are bullish, was a very high 92 reading. Market has been going up in a thrust out of a triangle. That triangle lasted about 5 months, from May of 2019 through early May through early October 2019, and all the after movement since early October has been a thrust up out of a triangle. It's been very relentless to the upside, and here we are at a 92 DSI. That is very, very unusually high reading, and is a warning that the market is very frothy right now. So all of that is included on the spreadsheet. You can see that the Nasdaq DSI was 88. The VIX, a very low 12. Only 12% of traders are bullish on the VIX right now. Unfortunately, there's no DSI available on ETFs at this time. I have found a little bit of a indicator workaround on that I can explain to you in a second. Crude oil, as you can see, is not particularly stretched. It's at a 55 right now, so on and so forth. So all that information is available every night to premium plan subscribers in the nightly report. And then, of course, you have the individual screenshots of each item. Like on the Australian dollar, you get a daily screenshot that shows you the signals. And you also get a commercials versus retail sentiment screenshot. You can see on this one right here that the commercials are heavily short the Australian dollar, whereas retail traders are right in the middle. That is generally bearish. If the commercials are heavily short an item, that is generally bearish the item. You can see the last time we had the red boxes, the thin red box and the heavy red box around price, the price did start moving to the downside at that time. And when you have commercials extremely bullish and retail extremely bearish, that's a very bullish spread condition on the sentiment, and that's the time where you generally are going to see soon enough a move to the upside. So every item that that is covered every night for premium plan subscribers shows where we are with the momentum signals and the sentiment on the Australian dollar, Canadian dollar, crude oil, the DAX, Dow Jones Industrial Average, with dust and nugget for gold miners, ERX and ERY for large cap mining or large cap oil companies, the euro, FAS and FAZ, 3 times bullish and three times bearish ETFs on financials, gold, Japanese yen, the Nasdaq, the Russell, silver, the Semiconductor Index, the S&P, US dollar, the VIX, and 10-year Treasury bonds. So those are covered every night for premium plan subscribers. And you get 2 screenshots on each one, Monday through Friday. Get back to my list and see how I'm doing on my... I've really been showing you how to navigate within the website as we've been moving along here, but let me go back and remind you that under the Resources tab, so I've talked about the Account tab and all these other tabs, I've been using them, but under the Resources tab, you have videos. There's some good videos in here. This video I'm making right now is going to end up on this list. This is kind of another description of my momentum algo. It's this earlier version of the recording I'm doing right now. A guide to navigating inside the website. Elliott Wave 101. How to use MACD and divergence in order to predict turns in the market and at multiple time frames. And how I combine Elliott Wave and Hurst cycle analysis. Those are all videos. For premium plan subscribers, that is especially important one in here. That's Setting Protective Stops, a guide for Elliott Wave Plus subscribers. And so this document is very important. So you'll know where to put your stop if you get a signal. And how there's an example for setting a stop in a futures contract. There's also an ETF example of where to set a stop, and then how to trail that stop if the algo suggests starting to trail the stop. If you're well into profit, and there's some early indication of a lack of momentum, it will suggest starting to trail the stop, and there's very specific instructions on how to trail the stop. So that's important stuff for premium plan subscribers. Also, a Fibonacci document explains some Fibonacci, how some popular targets there. An outline of the wave principle I did, and much shorter read and packed with information. It's only about 10 pages long instead of 100 pages long in the Frost and Prechter book. And a description of the notations that I put on my charts for subscribers and what they mean. Because I use Hurst cycle analysis in addition to Elliott Wave, I have some specific notations that I use for Hurst cycles. Pardon me, I have a bit of a cough today. So it talks about Hurst cycles and how I show that in this example, a 20-week cycle peak is due, and a 20-week and a 40-week cycle trough due down here, and so and also what the composite line is suggesting. So this is also a very important document for learning what my notations on my charts actually mean. So all of that's available in the Resources tab, and quickly want to jump over to the website and show you very quickly the blog and how you can look through the blog, and that's also under the resources tab under blog. And this basically lists most recent blog posts, would be the first ones you would see, and then going back in time, a number of blog posts. Going back, you can look for topics that are interesting to you, and that was just one page, and there's over 10 pages of blog posts you can go back through and read. This most recent one was basically my current analysis on gold and why I made certain decisions about my labeling on gold based on Fibonacci price achievements. And that was a video that I put at my YouTube channel. I also have a YouTube channel, Elliott Wave Plus, so a bunch of stuff there at the YouTube channel you could go and comment on if you wish. So that's the blog. And then quickly, I want to move straight to my trading platform and my charting platform that I use to show my wave counts and to develop my algos. It's called Trade Navigator by Genesis, and show you just a couple of things about how we show our signals. The green solid triangles are buy signals. All of the charts associated with my premium plan service are daily charts. So these are signals where we can send them out nightly, and a person can trade the market without really ever even looking at the market, because they get them on a daily basis, and I'm working with daily candles. And so what this suggested right here was on January 7 to buy Bitcoin, and it shows the entry and the exit. Now that particular trade got stopped out pretty quickly. This sell trade back here, actually right here, was a sell signal, and it comes in at the close of that candle. So it's saying at the open of the following daily candle, short the item and wait for instructions. And then on this day right here, there was a green block, and that basically said get out of the trade and just take profits and get out of there, because there was a loss of momentum, downward momentum that occurred. Well, it still produced a very big winner, and you can see the green trades are historically where the big winners came in, and the little red blocks, quite small, because there's a protective stop that was utilized, and it either got stopped out, that particular trade did, or there was a loss of momentum, and the algo just said get out of it, but don't even wait for the stop to be hit. We're seeing a loss of momentum here, so get out. And so that particular one was Bitcoin. One of the best ones, and the reason I know this is I'll show you the spreadsheet in it, but one of the most successful algos I've written would be the one that's running on the Dow Jones Industrial Average YM contract, which theoretically I told it to bring up. Yeah, there we go. So this is the Dow Jones Industrial Average, the YM futures contract, and look at all those big green winners and tiny losers. And on this particular item, yeah, there's no trail, so I need to change this a little bit and take these little arrows off. But you can see this on this, when this candle closed right here, it said get long at market at the opening of the following candle. Big winner. This red block said exit the trade, so on and so forth. Now this particular item is not utilizing a trailing stop at this time. I would say trailing stops generally I would say more of my 20 items that I covered does not use a trailing stop. They don't help. And so what my algo does is it looks at a couple of different indicators for momentum, and it gets in long, for instance, when they both agree, but it takes profit fairly quickly when one or the other of them suggests a loss of momentum. And so that's why it's able to stick with a trade. It doesn't have a fixed price objective. For instance, this trade right here was approximately, in the YM contract, a $4,000 winner. This trade right here was approximately a $3,700 winner. I'll find a loss here. So here's a losing trade, and that losing trade was a $1,500 losing trade. And so you can see those losing trades do happen, but if the algo allows the trending moves to run and sticks with the trade and doesn't have a fixed price objective, it's able to catch some enormous moves, and that's the secret of the success of the algo. Very quickly, I want to get back to the spreadsheet. So this is a sortable spreadsheet that everyone that I'm going to post this recording as a blog post. I'm going to send it out to my entire emailing list and let everyone take a look at it. But this is the report we just generated. This is based on backtesting from January 1 of 2017 through January 1 of 2020. And the reason even though the Bitcoin was by far the biggest winner on net profit, and the German DAX was second, the thing about those two items is they generally require large accounts, and they have large overnight margin requirements. But notice the Dow Jones Industrial Average is third on that list, the YM contract, and the stats on it are pretty good. For instance, if we sort this by winning percentage, you can see that the Dow Jones Industrial Average, the YM contract, over the last 3 years, a 53% winning percentage. And you might say, well, that's not very good. I want to win 90% of the time. Well, I can tell you, as a developer of algorithmic trading systems, you can't make as much money on systems that win 90% of the time because they have to take profits very quickly. And so they don't allow the item to run and catch the whole move. So they trade a lot, and they just scalping little bitty bits off the market. But this item, it's a 53% winning percentage, but the average winner is $2,306, and this is trading one contract at a time, YM contract, and the average loser $895. So that 2.5 to 3 times the size. The winner is 2.5 to 3 times the size of the average loser, and that's the secret of the success of the item. The other thing I really like about the Dow Jones, the way it's been performing lately, is the number of consecutive losses that the algo has had to endure over the last 3 years. Now, the Semiconductor Index, that's actually an ETF, has a similar winning percentage, but it's not putting up the big percentage of gains like a futures contract would, and that is assuming buying $10,000 worth of shares every time you get a signal. But over the last 3 years, it's only lost twice, but it's only traded 19 times. The Dow Jones Industrial Average has traded 83 times in 3 years, and it's above a 50% winning percentage. The winners are huge in comparison with the losers. And then the other aspect that's really attractive is it's only experienced 4 losses in a row over the last 3 years. Now you have to search your own mind about how many losses in a row do you think you could stick with an algo before you turn it off. And I think a lot of people would probably draw the line at 4 or 5 in a row. That's all they could stomach, no matter how good the history was on it. And whereas it has the maximum number of winners in a row is just 4, but once again, the size of the winner, the size of the average winner, as opposed to the size of the average loser, is the secret to the success of the item. And this shows how many items use trailing stops. Probably about half of that, of the backtested of the items on the list, use trailing stop. It isn't that helpful, but it does bring in a few extra bucks based on backtesting on a few items. But in the case of the Dow Jones Industrial Average, it doesn't need a trailing stop, not based on the last 3 years, and so it's a real low maintenance trading item. So to me, that's the big winner. If you have a very small account and you want to trade these ideas, and we look at account size required, these new micro E-mini contracts are 1/10 the size. So the MYM is 1/10 the size of the YM contract. You get the same percentages out of the deal. It's just that you can start with an account size that is 1/10 what you need to start taking these algo signals on the Dow Jones Industrial Average. But the rest of the stats, the percentage stats are the same. It's just the numerical stats are 1/10 every time. So the average winner is $230. The average loser is only $89. The maximum of 4 losses in a row, that sort of thing. So there's something in this report for everyone, whether you are someone that trades with smaller account or a larger account. It does assume what's trading one contract at a time. If you have a quite sizable account, you can figure out how many contracts you can afford to trade at a time based on your own risk management, and also considering how many times larger your account is than the required account size when trading one contract at a time. So I'm going to wrap this one up. I think I've covered just about everything in this webinar as an overview, and I've done other webinars that are somewhat similar but they also dig into exactly how I designed my algo. Everything that you see here is explained and what it does on the previous webinar. I think it was called All About Sid's Momentum Algo. And then don't forget that you are also kept abreast of the current positioning of commercials and retail on as many items as I can on that list of 20 that information is available on. So we get back to my website. Thank you so much for joining me this quarter for the quarterly premium plan webinar. I hope my work is beneficial to you, and if you have any questions about my work at all, feel free to email me. My name is Sid Norris, and my email address is sid@elliottwaveplus.com. Have a great evening. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.